What is up, guys? It is Barry Michael Doyle, and welcome back to the third video for our TypeScript tutorials. We're going to continue with the code signal tutorials, but I was thinking in the next video I might just show you some other stuff about TypeScript, because lately we've just been focusing on algorithms and that doesn't really help you much. Thanks again to Loic for sending the comment in the last video. I haven't received anything from anyone else except for this random message. Thank you, I appreciate the comment. This helps my videos rank better, so please comment, even if it is something basic like this. I really appreciate it. Anyways, let's head over to Code Signal. To start off, I wanted to say that I guess they're not doing Code Signal t-shirts anymore, so me saving up my coins over here is a bit pointless. But it's cool. Join through my invitation anyway. It'll be fun that we do things together. I also realized that if you join via my link, you won't be my friend immediately. So what you're going to want to do is type in Barry M. Doyle, and then you should find my name. Well, I won't be able to find myself, but you can find me and just add me as a friend, and I will say, oh, I can find myself. There's me. That's me. That's my face. That's what my face looked like a year ago. Anyway, let's go to the arcade. And we're going to go back to the intro, and we're going to focus on challenge number 3, Into the Journey Begins. And after this, as I mentioned, I'll focus more on teaching you TypeScript stuff and not just going through algorithms. But anyway, here we are. We are going to focus on this. So we have a function here, it's an easy one as well, called check palindrome. And it's going to take a string, input string, which is type string, and it's going to return a boolean, i.e. it's going to return true or false. Now, I don't know if you guys know what a palindrome is. There's a description for it here, but basically a palindrome is something like ABBA, where it's the same way forwards as it is backwards. If we type in my name backwards is this, which this is not equal to that. So this would return false, and this is equal to ABBA. So it returns true. So there we go. You know, you kind of understand palindromes. I think a nice name for it is Hannah. Hannah is a palindrome. It's the same forwards as backwards. They have a whole bunch of examples down here where they talk. Do they? No, they don't even. They've got it over here. AABAA, that is a palindrome because it's the same way forwards as it is backwards. And ABAC is not a palindrome because it's not that way. So pretty straightforward. What we're going to want to do is use some cool functions to accomplish this. I'm going to show you a bunch of ways to do this because it would be useful to know the various ways for interview questions because they might expand on things. But the straightforward way would be to get the reverse string, and we're going to put it in a variable or a constant because it won't change. So the reverse string is going to be input string dot split. So we're splitting the string into an array, and we're not splitting it by everything, so we're just going to split each character up. What you can usually do is split by a comma or a comma and a space and put things in arrays based off their commas and spaces, or by a colon or anything. This over here, I meant to type it inside the brackets. This over here is the delimiter. So, or delimiter. It's a delimiter. I always say delimiter. I always used to say delimiter in school, and I still say it. It's a delimiter. So this is what we use to say what we're going to split things. So if we had a string to be, well, let's use comments again. If our string, we'll call it my string was equal to B A R R Y with commas in between everything, then we'd have to use a comma to split this out, so that we would get an array where it would be B. This is a mission to type out A, R. You know, you get the point. So this is what we're doing here. We're splitting it into an array. So this now becomes an array of characters, or it's an array of strings. In JavaScript, characters and strings are kind of the same. So a character is just a single item or character in a string. So there we go. We're going to split this up into, well, we're not going to split it by anything. So if we just use a normal split with an empty string, then you can just have the string Barry, which would become, I should denote that it's a string. So it's a string. Barry would become an array B A R, and so on. You know, it just goes on. So that's how this is going to work. That's what this does. We get the string array, And then there's a nice little JavaScript function called reverse. So this reverse is it literally just, when you reverse it, it's going to become, well, in my case, the full name, Y, R, R, A, and B. There we go. That's what we get from doing the reverse function over here. And then finally, we're going to join it again. So once we join it, you also got to join by something. So you can set the delimiter to be empty again. But yeah, when you say join, we would get back to ywrap, because that's my name backwards. And then what we want to do now is check, we're going to return the value of input string equal to reverse string. So if this input string is equal to the new reverse string, then this is indeed a palindrome, so we will return true. If it's not equal to, then this statement here, this condition would return false. So we're returning the true or false value, and that's what we're expecting here. So let's just run our test to make sure it works. Should work. I hope this works. Unless I messed up somewhere. I could have messed up somewhere. I didn't mess up somewhere. All our tests work. I assume all the locked ones would work as well. But this is where the problem comes in, guys. So most interviewers who don't know anything about JavaScript will be like, I didn't know there was a reverse function. You can't just use reverse function. Do it properly. And I'll be like, well, this is how I would do it properly if I was going to do it in a work setting. But nope, they don't care. So what we're essentially going to do here is split these things up. So we're going to get our const string array, and we're going to say that is the input string dot split. So here we have our string array. It's basically this. I can actually move this above. Let's move it up. So because we've got this method stored in here, we can just say string array dot reverse. Because that just, we're splitting our variables up, and this is actually a good thing to do because it makes your code easier to read. But also, if you don't really care about how this happens and you just know that you need a reverse string and you check if the input string is reverse string, that works too. You know, you get your, it seems pretty easy to read there. Now, the problem is they don't know, most interviewers are quite smart, but a lot of interviewers will say, hey, don't use the built-in reverse method, that's cheating. So you can do the join thing later, that's fine. You can use join and you can use split, but they won't like it if you used the reverse method. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to comment this out. And in order to go through this, we're going to have to create a new array, the const reversed array. I don't need to comment this out. Why did I comment this out? Const reversed array is just going to be an empty array for now. And now we're going to make a for loop. And we want to, remember, we want to build an array now backwards from the original array. So what we should do is we should let I equal the input string dot length -1. Because I'm not sure if you know this, but if we focus on this array here, if it's just the bar array, and we just focus on this, let me show you some cool comments. And why is this text editor not liking me? It hates me. So remember, this is index 0, and this is index 1, and this is index 2. This is how arrays work. So you get an address for each of these. So you get 0, 1, 2. And basically, we want to start looking at the back of this and then loop around and go 1 down each time. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this equal the input string dot length -1. So the string dot length is, in this case, it's going to be 3. Length would equal 3. So we're going to look at 3 minus 1, which is 2. So that's what this is. We're saying we're going to start a loop where I is 2 in this case. And then I will always be bigger or equal to 0, because we also want to cater for the case when it is 0 and when it's bigger than 0. And then what we're going to do with I, sorry, I meant to put a colon there. What we're going to do with I is make I decrement every loop. So that's how a loop works. If you didn't know how a loop works, it's pretty standard programming. Lots of people know how a for loop works. But what we're going to do here is, in our reversed array now, we're going to say reversed array dot, meant to be reversed array, not reverse string. There we go. Reversed array dot push. And we're going to push input string at I. So again, if we're looking at BAR, what we're doing here in this loop, if I could separate it out a little bit more, is we're going to start the loop where I is going to equal 2. So let's just keep notes here. I is 2. And this loop will run as long as I is bigger than 0. And each time it loops, I will become 1 less. So we're going to make our reversed array have, when we run this loop, we're going to push through the input string at I. So remember, this is our input string. So we run the loop once, and we say reversed array is now going to equal reversed array will equal, this is going to be the input string at I. So the input string at 2 is this one. It's going to be R. And now we run it again. So I'll copy this. And now the next time we run it, I is going to be 1. And the reversed array is going to add another value on. It's going to add input string at 1, and that's A. So suddenly we have R, and we're pushing on another value, A. So this loops until it's done. Then the next time it will be B, and then it will check again, hey, is I bigger or equal to 0? Yes, it is. So it runs to the B, and then I becomes -1. And then we go, is I equal to or bigger than 0? And it will freak out and say, nope, it's not. So this whole loop stops, and then we focus on this. Now, finally, we just got to get the reversed string from this. So the reversed string is going to equal the reversed array dot join, because we've used this join function before, and our interviewers don't mind if we use join. So I'm going to remove these comments now and remove that as well. And this should technically work as well, unless I messed up. I could have messed up. I usually do. I think I've mentioned that before as well. It does work. Now, for some reason, the interviewer that you're interviewing for used to work at some company that specialized in building software for just checking palindromes, and they wanted to have the most efficient method possible. Now, as you can see, the reversed array, even that reversed method, it uses this under the hood. It basically, this is what the reverse method does. But as you can see, in this case, we have to run through every single character of the string. So if your string has a length of 30, then this loop has to run 30 times. So we're always going to run it depending on the length of the string. Now, there's a quicker way to check for a palindrome. If you think about it, if we're comparing ABBA, or even that kind of ABBBA, to ABBBA, what we're actually doing is just looking, is the first half the same as the last half? You see, that's what we're doing with the palindrome. So if we get to check it that way and run loops that way, we could technically do it in half the time, or even less, depending. Because if it fails, if we loop through this and we said ABAC, we're checking, is this one the same? Or let's put a bunch of C's in the middle. Yeah, so we check, is this the same as that? No, immediately you're checking the first one to the last one, and if they're not the same, and we start working our ways inwards and looping inwards and checking the first one to the last one, the second one to the second last one, the third one to the third last one. If you find an error immediately, you can jump out of this for loop and just return straight up true or false. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. We basically do the same thing where actually we don't need to check a reversed array anymore. That's right. Why am I even thinking that? So we just need to get our string length, and for that, well, it's also pretty straightforward. In fact, you're able to look at a string. Here's another note that I completely forgot about. You're able to actually just console.log. So remember, our tests are going to fail now because I messed up. But I want to specifically focus on the console log. So let's just comment this all out, or remove it all. I don't need it anymore. And we'll just return false for now. So we can console.log input string at 1. So remember, before we did need to use the array methods and stuff because we couldn't reverse the array and join it. We couldn't reverse the string without converting it to an array. But this input string at 1, we can actually run a test and see what the console log for it is. I think, as far as I know with JavaScript, I should know this stuff off by heart, but you can get a console output. You see console output here for the input AABA, the output for input string at 1 is A. So that means input string at index 1. This is index 0. This is index 1. We got this A from that. So we don't even need to use arrays anymore. So what we really need now is to just focus on the length, because this will affect how many times we run our loop. So we're going to use const length is going to equal to input string dot length. And now from here, we're going to do our for loop. And this is a bit complicated, but once you see how it works, it kind of makes sense. So we're going to let I equal 0. So again, we're going to start at the bottom now. I is going to go up each time. So at the end, I will go plus plus. But in the middle, I don't need this. In the middle over here, we want to say I is smaller than length divided by 2. Because this only needs to run half of the time. And then by the time it's run like halfway through, by the time it's gotten to there, then we don't need to run it anymore because it's the same as there. So in this case, the length is 5. Half of length, if I is smaller than 2.5, which if it's 1 or 2, then we're good to go. So then we don't need to check if that's equal to that. So that's just it might be a bit complicated now to grasp, but basically what we want to do is check if the last one, in this case, if I at 0 is equal to I at length, well, yeah, the length at -1 and -0, then we're sorted. So let me just type it out because it would make more sense, and I'm kind of spilling over my words right now. So we're going to check if input string at I, i.e. the first character, is not equal to input string at length -1, because remember, if the length is 5 here, then we are looking at index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're looking at this. This is 4. So we're going to look at length -1. And that should work, but we've also got to say -I. So remember, if we're looking at the second value, then I would be 1. And that would be, we'd look at that, and we'd want to look at the second last one. So that would be, it's going to be the length, which is 5, -1, which is 4, minus another 1, because we're looking at index 1 in the next loop. We'll look at index 3, which is 0, 1, 2, 3. So we got that. If those are not the case, then we're going to return false, because then this is obviously not a palindrome. And then that would, as soon as this happens, as soon as the first one's not equal to the last one, the second one's not equal to the second last one, it will return false, and that will stop running. So it means that our application is only going to run at most the length of half of the string, which is much less than going through everything and splitting the whole thing up. So this makes it more efficient. And then if that all runs fine and that doesn't return false, then finally at the end we will return true. So let's run the test. And now we wait again, because that's what we do all the time. And it worked. And let's just submit to make sure it's all good. Is it good? Please be good. I just want you to work. It's all you ever want to code. And there we go. It's working totally fine. So that has been me. Again, become my friend. Go look at the TypeScript language. Go look at me. Well, friends. And vote me up. I like votes because it's fun. It's really fun. And I'll vote you up. If you're one of my friends, if you're one of my CodeFight friends, then I'll vote you up too. But I have no friends who have done the TypeScript language yet. So that's why I haven't voted for you, because I don't have any friends. It's very sad. Anyways, guys, that's going to be me for the video. In the next video, I'll talk more about TypeScript and less about algorithms, because right now I've been pretty overwhelmed with just having to show you algorithms, and it's become quite a lot. So anyway, there we go. Because the only bit of TypeScript we have here is the string and the Boolean, and you'll understand in Visual Studio Code that there's so much more to TypeScript than just this basic stuff. It will help you so much in the future. Anyways, I'll catch you in the next video. Ciao.